Hello, Real Pagan. This is Joseph Oakthorn on the site, and this is my contribution to the January video blog challenge project, whatever. That Sang posted to the site, which has received some really great postings so far. So I figured I would contribute in my own way. Please do excuse the fact that I pretty much look like a Sasquatch right now. When one is trapped in the cabin in the middle of winter, a little bit of the precise grooming goes downhill. I'm hoping to make a decent contribution to this, although I suspect even now, having recorded some of the other parts of this earlier, it's going to be obscenely long because apparently I ramble like crazy, and anyone who knows me well knows this. You see, all of you lovely people are used to me being very succinct and precise in my writing, and that's why I write rather than speak for a living. I'm the master of tangents and pauses between useful things said, apparently. So yeah. So what I'm going to show you first is parts of our temple space, specifically areas where we keep things, and sort of taking a look at how they fit into what it is that I do, just on a daily basis. So, on a practical basis, my day-to-day exercises probably make up the bulk of my esoteric work, obviously. Now, as the priest of a coven of traditional witches, we do meet for all 8 of the solar Sabbats and the majority of the full moons. Times in which we gather in full coven array, and what we consider to be the old rites are performed. But all of that aside, my personal daily practices really are the crux of what it is I do. It's so funny how many people find themselves creating a dichotomy. One is either coven or one is solitary, when in fact, as a member of a coven, I do far more solitary work than I ever did as just a solitary. So it's sort of an interesting thing. My students learn very quickly that I have a lot of expectations from them, not just when they're at my house in classes, and not just when they are in temple space for our rites, but on a daily basis. When you become a creature that is aware of your spiritual presence, just like a child becoming aware of their physical presence has to learn physical hygiene, you have to learn spiritual hygiene. There are far too many people in the pagan community who do not tend to their spiritual hygiene, and you can tell. So, if you fancy yourself any kind of magician, and of course I'm going to operate from my own biases here and make a very concrete statement that sounds an awful lot like a thou shalt, but I'm going to stand by it. If you fancy yourself any kind of magician, you'd bloody well better be taking care of your spiritual hygiene on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I wake up in the morning, and the morning is my time for practical exercises. It's where I meditate, ground and then center, and then I follow with the Kabbalistic cross, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And technically, those are both part of the same ritual. And the middle pillar, and then the hexagram ritual. These last few are Kabbalistic in origin. The Alexandrian tradition practices quite a bit of ceremonial magic, but it's done within a witchcraft context. Frater Teneo and I have discussed this interesting little trait before in the past. We practice many of the same rituals, but we don't necessarily practice them the same way. And then after I do that, depending on where I'm at, having worked with kind of the spiritual essences of of my form directly, myself directly, depending on where I'm at, I may do some of the exercises I've learned from Orion Foxwood in his Fairy Seership program, which I feel are an excellent addition to the work we do for ourselves, to our what I refer to as our dailies, and also are really excellent at doing for the land around you what these previous exercises do for your spirit itself. So I kind of consider it a work on myself, and then if I have the time, if I'm in a good place energetically, I will then reach out and kind of do the same for the land around me as part of the ongoing co-creative relationship that I have with the spirits of the land that we work with. And that's my morning. And then after that point, it's time for breakfast, time to go take care of everything else. But I have much like taking care of my physical hygiene first thing, I also take care of my spiritual hygiene immediately in the morning. And it sets the tone. That's the important thing. It sets the tone for your day. You begin the day in a mindful place, and you can't help but move forward. Yes, you will find difficulties throughout the day, etc., etc. But it sets the tone for where you're at, for what you intend for your day to look like. And it makes a difference. I mean, sometimes I've been sick. I go a couple days without doing them. And you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference. So they're very important. My evenings, usually just before bed, are spent on devotional and magical work. Now, I don't always do something during the evenings. This is sort of the kind of thing that I touch on for evenings where I don't have something else going on. For instance, sometimes I have a class, and I consider that a healthy part of my devotional and magical exercises. So usually by the time we're done with a 2 to 3 hour class, I don't even want to look at an altar. But I'm also continuing forward with the tradition, so I consider my devotions accomplished, as it were. For the most part, though, on evenings where I don't have something else going on, late in the evening, I usually go to bed about midnight or so. So often between the hours of 10 and midnight, I spend in devotion in front of the altar. The craft altar, the altar that we create as part of our tradition, which again is part of our praxis. It's very solid. We recreate it, at least within our line, the same way for the most part, every time. It's not just for the goddess and god of the Wicca. It sees a variety. It sees a variety of devotions in front of it. Yes, I am an Alexandrian priest, and I offer quite a solid chunk of my devotional time to that nameless god and goddess that we revere. But they aren't the only ones. I also have household goddesses that I work very strongly with, and sometimes that devotional time is spent with them instead. There's also egregores, the formation of an astral intelligence that comes with any group doing solid, genuine magical work. And so sometimes I will sit and spend time with the egregore of the Alexandrian tradition as a whole, or with my individual line, but most often with my coven. One of my duties as the high priest of the coven is to tend to the health of the egregore of the coven, and so I like to spend a lot of this time doing that. The other sort of focus of the devotional time is our ancestors, my ancestors in particular. I am a very firm believer in taking care of the sort of different sets of ancestors that I work with. And so sometimes it will be all of the ancestors to which that I have a stake in, as it were, or who have a stake in me, I suppose, more properly. So my blood ancestors, the mighty dead of my craft tradition, and my sort of cultural ancestors. Other times I will feel more drawn towards one of those sets of ancestors and work with them exclusively for the evening. It depends. It depends on what my spirit is hungry for at that moment. The thing to understand is the devotional work is important. If you interact with deities or spirits or anything of any capacity outside of oneself, it is important not just because it feeds them, but because it feeds you. Our spirits are meant to be in these co-creative relationships, in reciprocal relationships. They're not meant to be solitary little creatures, but we're meant to be cross-sections. We are crossroads. Our souls are crossroads. There's a reason why we talk about witchcraft at the crossroads and all of these things. And that's because the nature of the human spirit is to be a place of intersection between these things. And the crossroads don't exist without the roads that feed them. And so by interacting with these spirits on a regular basis, you not only strengthen your relationship with them, but you strengthen your relationship with your spirit, with your soul, because it feeds it, it makes it strong, right? If the morning exercises are sort of the hygiene for this, your devotional time is your good bout of exercise, right? It's cardio for your soul. So, after the devotional time, I don't really spend a lot of time doing this. I mean, my gods don't require, hours of prayers or anything like that. You just need some time, and that's all there is to it. Any works of magic that I intend to interact with, that I intend to work on, is usually how I finish out the night. I like to work magic right before bed. It does something. Performing the right triggers things. It stirs up the waters of the deep mind, if you will. And because deep mind is also the place where dreams come from, once you get that sort of current moving in it, not only do you have something to say to spirit, but spirit has something to say to you. Deep mind has something to say to you. And my most vivid dreamings are right after I've worked magic. That's kind of the summary of my work, and just on a daily basis.